I think Bitcoin is starting to get into that mode of being between the two, right? So I think what you're going to see, and this goes with the predictions, right, for 2023, where the NASDAQ and the S&P are going to continue down. But what I'm saying is Bitcoin's going to actually bottom out and actually start to turn up in 2023. So that means it has to decouple from risk assets. And the key to this is going to be regulation. As much as everyone hated the idea of regulation in crypto, now we see an FTX scenario and everyone's saying, all right, well, you need some transparency. You need audits. You need to see the books on these players. There has to be rules where they can't take customer funds and put it in other places. And I think that's going to be the key that really starts to trigger Bitcoin's next move up, is when you get regulation, institutions will finally start to come back to invest in Bitcoin.
Despite his short-term, highly bearish price prediction for Bitcoin, popular technical analyst Gareth Soloway is quite bullish on the crypto asset in the mid and long term. In fact, he believes the next Bitcoin bull market could begin as early as May 2023. In a recent interview with Kitco News, Soloway discusses his price predictions and outlook for the world's largest cryptocurrency. He states that a gloomy macro environment in 2023 will force more investors to search for alternatives to the stock market. One of the best options, Soloway adds, will be Bitcoin. With the massive influx of big money investors, Soloway sees Bitcoin completely decoupling from risk assets in 2023. But before that happens, the technical analyst believes the crypto industry must be adequately regulated. Soloway adds that institutional investors are holding out from investing in the space because of regulation. Once we get some clarity in 2023, he believes crypto asset prices will take off. Soloway also discusses his macro outlook for the coming year. According to the renowned technical analyst, the United States economy is heading for a nasty recession in 2023. He expects the Federal Reserve to announce a 50 basis point hike on Wednesday, then half of that during its next meeting and pause. However, Soloway believes it would be at least a year before the central bank starts cutting rates. He also expects inflation to remain above 3% for another 2 years. We will now take you to Gareth Soloway's interview. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our videos. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything helps with the YouTube algorithm and contributes immensely to our growth. Thanks and enjoy the video. Soloway begins the interview by discussing his controversial sub-$20,000 Bitcoin prediction when other analysts were calling for $100,000 or more. He also gives an update on his post-FTX price prediction for the crypto asset.
In general, as a psychological trader, and part of trading is understanding human emotion and understanding that when the whole crowd, when every single person is rushing into an asset, that's usually the mark of a top. And you saw this, I mean, we saw this in 2007 with the housing market, when Time Magazine featured like the flipper, the home flipper on their front page. It's exactly the same thing. I mean, when you have the mom and pop saying, hey, this is so easy, I can't believe how much money I'm making, it's usually the end of the move. And then you look at the charts and you understand the massive move that has gone on, the double top that we saw in Bitcoin, all the factors out there. To me, it was one of those no-brainer scenarios. Plus, let's not forget that by November, when Bitcoin was topping, we knew the Fed was going to start raising rates, right? We already saw inflation spiking, and everyone was saying, oh, like, listen, inflation's spiking, so Bitcoin has to go higher. But the essence of it is inflation spiking. Bitcoin was already factoring that in. Now it had to factor in the major tightening that the Fed was going to bring in. And remember, there was so much money that had been thrown into the Bitcoin market, from checks going to Americans from the government, from quantitative easing, from all the stimulus. People were home. They weren't driving to work, so they were saving on gas money. They weren't taking vacations, so they had extra money. So all that money was going into crypto or stocks. Now, all of a sudden, you get to a point where the Fed starts sucking out that liquidity, and there's really no other way for any assets to continue up, and we've seen that here. As bearish as I was when we were at 65 to 69,000, I would say I'm lukewarm now on Bitcoin.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I think the bottom is in, but you're right. Let's take a look at the chart of Bitcoin. This is something I want to show you guys.
Yeah.
So here we have, this is the drop on the Terra Luna collapse. And we dropped from about 31,000 and change down to about 17 and change. And so that drop was about 40+%. Now, if you look at the collapse of FTX, Bitcoin only dropped 25%. And so you could argue that FTX was a much bigger blow up in terms of institutional money being involved and kind of the earthquake that it caused, yet Bitcoin dropped less. And so to me, I take that as a signal that says, okay, it's not the end yet, but we're getting there. And so a couple of the analysis points. So number one, I looked at the comparisons of FTX's blow up and the Lehman Brothers collapse in '08, noticing again, Lehman was a bank, It collapsed. An exchange, FTX, kind of like a bank, but in crypto, it collapsed. Now, how long did the S&P 500 take to bottom after Lehman Brothers? And the answer is it took about 6 months. So then extrapolate that out and say, okay, in 6 months from now, we might be seeing the bottom in Bitcoin. And the reason you can kind of extrapolate this out is because human emotion, you could say, oh, well, that's stocks, this is crypto. But the answer is it's all the same. And the reason it's the same is because humans, you and me, we're the buyers and sellers. And does your emotion change? Does my emotion change? No.
Today's episode is sponsored by Capital, the #1 crypto IRA platform in America. We allow you to invest in your favorite cryptocurrencies without worrying about taxes. That's right. Capital allows you to buy and sell your favorite cryptocurrencies completely tax-free. That means if you invest $10,000 into Cardano and it grows to $100,000, all of your profits are tax-free. Why is it tax-free? We took the existing retirement account industry and flipped it on its head. Instead of boring stocks and bonds, you can invest in crypto. How is it secured? Through Coinbase Custody, one of the leading cold storage providers with a $320 million insurance policy to protect against theft, hacks, and loss of funds. Roll over your existing retirement account, or even start a new one from scratch. Questions? Schedule a free call with one of our crypto retirement account specialists, and they can help you discuss your options. Start your crypto IRA today and retire early, only at Capital. Click the link in the description to open a free account now.
Greed and fear. It's what rules the market. So you can really extrapolate that out. And the last thing I'll say is the S&P, when Lehman collapsed, fell another 45% from that point, from that collapse, before it bottomed in March 09. In that case, we should see Bitcoin fall approximately 45% more from approximately that, breakdown level around 18,000 and change. To me, that gives me a target just below 10,000. And keep in mind that max pain is caused when even numbers are broken. You'll see a ton of stops run at 10,000. That could be the bottom when it breaks into the 9,000s.
Do you think altcoins will outperform BTC next year?
I think if it survives, yes. And I think investors have to really think about what they're investing in, because remember, we don't even know what what's a security, what's a commodity. If it's a security, which is basically almost anything but Bitcoin, what are the rules that are going to be applied? What's the level of entry? Remember, to be listed on the NASDAQ, it costs a lot of money. So I have a feeling that there's going to be costs, like levels to entry. And there's going to be a lot of coins that can't handle that, including the transparency side.
Yeah.
And we don't know this. And again, you go through something like Terra Luna, you go through something like FTX. As an investor, those were mega market cap cryptos. You have to be really careful, and I'm sure there are more, things to fall.
Gareth Soloway still holds his $9,000 price prediction for Bitcoin. Unlike other popular analysts, he does not believe we have had a Bitcoin bottom yet. According to him, the next 6 months will decide the direction of the markets in 2023 and beyond. However, he does not rule out scenarios where he might be wrong. One such scenario will be the Fed cutting rates and introducing another round of quantitative easing. If this happens in early 2023, Soloway believes asset prices, including Bitcoin prices, will take off immediately. Without that, here is Soloway's timeline for a new Bitcoin all-time high. 2028 for another all-time high. He also discusses the possibility of Ethereum being regulated as a security and his best-performing asset for 2023.
I think you're looking at 2028. Yeah, and I think it's also that establishment where you have the regulation, people start seeing that, okay, it is a real asset. You have more and more people adopting it in terms of a place to store their money in terms of not in fiat currencies. I think all of that takes time, but it all starts with that regulation. I think it all depends on what reporting requirements there are. And I don't think that Gary Gensler is looking to really destroy Ethereum. There's so much built on Ethereum. I look at Ethereum and I kind of look at it and say, okay, Ethereum is like Apple or Microsoft. It has these firm foundations. There's value there. And I think if it's treated like a security, it's probably valued at least at what it's valued right now. We just have to see what those reporting requirements are. So I'm not too worried about that, believe it or not. I'd be more worried again for the tiny coins out there that are kind of just brand new with little to no use case. I think those are going to be kind of washed away. In 2022, we said gold would be Bitcoin and the S&P 500. I'm going to re-up and I'm going to say gold will again outperform percentage-wise the S&P and Bitcoin. But I will make this further out prediction is after next year, Bitcoin will be the best performer going forward for multiple years.
Let us know what you think about Gareth Soloway's interview in the comments section below. After being arrested in the Bahamas, disgraced former crypto billionaire and FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is now awaiting extradition to the United States. According to reports, his bail has been denied, and he will remain at the Fox Hill prison, one of the worst prisons in the world, until February 8. According to a statement published Tuesday, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has charged SBF with defrauding investors. The charges against him include wire fraud conspiracy, securities fraud conspiracy, and money laundering. According to the SEC, SBF is also being charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. As the SBF and FTX situation continues to unravel, do you think investors that lost their money will finally get the justice they deserve? Please let us know what you think in the comments section. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.